Welcome to Are You Quizzing Me? I am Vineet Nair with my co-host Aditya Kashyap. This is a quizzing trivia podcast show. Join us as we dive deep into history, science, pop culture, and so much more. Let's get quizzing. Welcome to episode number 78 of Are You Quizzing Me? Your favorite quizzing and trivia podcast show. Aditya and I are back for another round of quizzing. And I want to have a thanks out to HK for subbing in for me last week. Without further ado, let's start off today's episode with the audience question. This is a very simple question. Hopefully, many people will be able to answer this. So, my dear audience, which is the most commonly celebrated national celebration worldwide other than religious holidays? Let me repeat the question. Which is the most commonly celebrated national celebration worldwide other than religious holidays? And I'm looking for something specifically common to all these countries. So that celebration is a very common celebration, and it's the most commonly celebrated national celebration worldwide other than religious holidays. So let's say Christmas, Eid, all of that is out the window. I will answer this question at the end of today's episode. But let us start off with Aditya.
Welcome back, Vineet. Okay, so I thought since I'm welcoming you back, why not welcome you back with a question that you, I'm sure, would appreciate, given your love for sports-related trivia
Oh, cool.
and how much you enjoy sports.
We should have a sarcasm kind of klaxon that goes off. I don't think that new listeners understand how much I loathe sports questions, but it's all part of the game. So
The day we are able to afford an audio engineer to put in these sound effects, oh, you best believe New York Times and This American Life, we are coming for you. The top podcast ever. Okay.
Yes.
So, Vineet, I mentioned sports. This should be hopefully a simple enough entry point. I don't know if you'll figure out the answer quickly enough, but it should be simple enough to start off. Tell me, what is this a list of? Wow, did I just combine sports and a listicle? Amazing. I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, at number 1, Russia. Number 2, Ukraine. Number 3, Belarus. Number 4, Kazakhstan. Number 5, United States of America. Number 6, Bulgaria. Number 7, Turkey. And we continue on for a while more. But these are the top few. Tell me, what is this a list of?
Olympic wrestling medals or weightlifting medals?
So great. I expected you to get the Olympic part very quickly. Yes, it has something to do with the Olympic Games. The Olympic Games are on right now. India has already won its first medal. So something fun for people to look out for. But this is not wrestling medals. What is this a tally of in the world of Olympics?
Number 1 was Russia.
Russia. Yeah.
Boycotts of the Olympic.
Boycotts of the Olympics. Interesting. No, this isn't a boycott related thing.
Because you mentioned mostly Eastern European countries and countries of the old Soviet bloc. And my mind went to the Olympics. So they were quite big, mainly in weightlifting and wrestling. That's what springs to mind. Is this number of athletes banned for performance enhancing substances or something like that?
Ooh, beautiful. Oh, wow. I had prepared a bunch of other clues also because I thought you would take some time to get there. But yes, this is very close. This is the number of medals that have been stripped by country.
Oh, okay.
Because of cheating related and other related issues. Mostly it is, yes, performance enhancement drugs. There have been some other cases of medals being stripped as well. But Russia leads the charts on this. 46 medals have been stripped off Russia in the entire history of modern Olympics for cheating. And Ukraine is second at 11, Belarus at 11, Kazakhstan at 10, United States tying Kazakhstan with 10 as well, Bulgaria 7, Turkey 5, and so on and so forth. Us Indians should be proud of the fact that at least, hey, we don't feature on this list. We haven't been stripped of any medals yet.
We feature on very few Olympics lists, let's be honest, whether it's good or bad.
Fair enough, fair enough. So this is a list of the number of countries that have been stripped of medals. Now it's very interesting because most of these medals have been stripped in the recent history because drug testing has gotten better
Yeah.
post 2000. So a lot of them are post 2000 medals that have been stripped off of athletes. Interestingly enough, drug testing is not the only reason for medals being stripped off of people. In 1904, so one of the first medals being stripped, Jack Egan won two medals in boxing, a silver medal in the lightweight category and a tied bronze medal in the welterweight category.
Okay.
Can you take a guess, just take a wild guess as to why Jack Egan was stripped of these two medals?
I don't, off the top of my head, remember if lightweight and welterweight are right next to each other so that he could. And boxing weight categories usually differ by just 2-3 kilograms. So maybe he made water weight, or I don't know. I mean, like he fudged something to be able to participate in two different weight classes.
Nope, nope, he didn't fudge anything along. You would think it could have something to do with the weight because he did do it in two weight categories. It was because the Amateur Athletic Union, which is an amateur sports organization based in the US, it was illegal to fight under an assumed name.
Are you
So
kidding me?
Jack Egan was not his real name. So he was stripped of his medals.
That's just ridiculous. I mean,
Poor
like
chap.
that's just cruel. That's just mean.
Yeah, yeah. And this whole the Olympics has that whole amateur thing, right? So Jim Thorpe in 1913 was stripped of his medal because he had accepted some expense money for playing baseball, and so they're like, "Hey, you're not an amateur anymore."
I would also like to point our audience towards a documentary I'd watched a few years ago. I think the name of the documentary is Icarus. Don't quote me on that, but I think
Hmm.
it's called Icarus, and it was about the extensive, almost state-sponsored drug use for sports by the former USSR and current day Russia. So that's where the idea for the answer came from. So thank you, Icarus.
Well done. I will mention one last hilarious case of a medal being stripped for non-drug related issues. And this is dressage, which in and of itself is one of the most hilarious Olympic sports ever. Like why are those horses ramp walking? I'll never understand, but sure. The Swedish dressage team, which won the gold originally at the 1948 Games, was disqualified by April 1949. You want to take a guess as to why? I mean, like, not in a million years will you get this until unless you already know it, but just try to take a guess.
Uh, the horses used when they were stepping forward, they stepped by 2 inches below the requirement, or the angle did not reach a 90 degree. I don't know. This must be something stupid. Come on, dressage isn't even a sport.
It is stupider than what you said because back then only officers or quote unquote gentlemen riders were eligible to take part. So a few weeks before the competition, the Swedish army promoted this particular athlete, Persson. His name is Persson, Persson, had been promoted to a lieutenant. And a couple of weeks afterwards, he was demoted back to a sergeant so that he was able to participate and that the IOC considered as inappropriate or illegal. So they disqualified the Swedish dressage team. And later they're like, you know what, maybe our rules are stupid. Like, what is this whole officers and gentlemen riders? Like, it sounds so antiquated. So, yeah, back in 1948, this was a rule that apparently led to a disqualification.
Okay. Okay, that was a nice question. I am going to play tit for tat because you asked me a question about something I don't like. So now I'm going to ask you a question. No, this is still on me because this is again a type of question I don't like. I'm going to send you an audio question.
Okay, let's do
So
this.
I'm going to play you an audio. Let's wait. I'm going to ask you a question and then I'm also going to play you an audio. And I want you to answer the question after listening to the audio. So the question is as follows. X is a popular American song, first published in 1940 and recorded and released by Sammy Kaye in 1940 on RCA Victor. It is best remembered for its 1950s rock and roll version by Fats Domino. The audio you're going to hear is a cover of the song X. The name of the song is quite easy if you listen to the song. What I need you to tell me is who's singing. And cue the audio.
I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill. On Blueberry Hill. When I found you, the moon stood still on Blueberry Hill. Until my dreams came true.
Okay. Interesting.
Mhm.
Wow, I have no clue whatsoever. Could you give me the details of it one more time? Could you run the details one more time?
Okay, the song, as I mentioned, is a popular American song, first released by Sammy Kaye in 1940. It was most remembered for its 1950s rock and roll version by Fats Domino, an African American singer, songwriter, and pianist. The song that you're hearing is a cover by a very famous personality. I was hoping you'd be able to identify the song and who's singing. The name of the song is in the song audio itself, so hopefully you should be able to get that.
Yeah, so that was the easy part because they said Blueberry Hill a couple of times. So I'm assuming that's the name of the song.
Yes, it is Blueberry Hill, composed by Vincent Rose, and lyrics by Larry Stock and Al Lewis.
You have dropped quite a few names, and none of those are familiar to me. So I have no idea who these people are or what the context of any of this is. I am going to take a very, very strange guess here. I have a feeling that that was an Indian accent singing that. And because it is us and it is two Indian men doing this podcast, I feel slightly confident in at least taking that guess that it is an Indian singer. Is it an Indian singer? Is it somebody Indian?
Aditya. For once, you are wrong. Yes! It is not an Indian singer.
Oh, okay, interesting. So, well, clearly my ear for accents is all off. Okay.
No, the reason I picked this, obviously, apart from the name brand value of the person singing, the reason is because the person does not sound like himself at all while singing this.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense then. Because I cannot, for my life, identify what the song can be. So you're asking me for the artist who has sung this particular cover, right?
Yeah, the person who's done the cover of the song.
Okay, and when was this cover?
I'll give you that. It was on December 10th, 2010. It was a live performance.
Oh, 2010. Okay, even if this person is not Indian, it definitely does not sound American unless this person put on an accent for the song.
Yeah, most people do that. You have a lot of English or rather British and Australian artists, and many Eastern European artists also who, while their regular speaking voice they have thick accents of their particular region where they're from. But when they sing in an American accent. If you've seen The Voice International, there are so many versions of The Voice, in God knows how many other countries. Almost all of them feature people who have very thick accents singing, however, in an almost exclusive American accent. So that's nothing new.
Yeah.
However, the reason I picked this, apart from again the big name brand value of the person singing it, is that this was very viral. It quickly went viral worldwide in 2010.
Okay, so presumably a non-native English speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Could be somebody European, could be somebody Asian, African. Wow, that's too broad, obviously.
I think you forgot South American.
Sure, South American. Let me take a guess. I should not even guess. Let me try to narrow this down. Is it somebody from the world of singing? Is it a singer who has just done it this?
See,
Uh,
I find that of an offensive characterization. Everybody's a singer in the bathroom. Everybody's a bathroom singer. So yes, this person is a
has
singer.
anybody ever paid this person to sing?
Unfortunately, there's no way of knowing if that has happened. I would not be surprised because this person
Oh
has led
man.
a very secretive life for a long period of his life. So we have no way of knowing. Maybe he was a club singer at some point. We don't know, and we probably never
Okay,
will.
fine. So I can gather by that statement that this is clearly not a known singer. Might have been a singer, but definitely not a name that you would, I don't know, Google and like the first hit would be like, oh, famous singer. That's not what's going to happen. So I'm assuming not known for being a singer. Interesting. And non English speaking, not known for being a singer. Is it a sports person of some kind? 2010. I mean, I guess Ronaldo was still a big deal. I'm just going to guess football.
This person has many achievements in the field of sport. Yes.
Has achievements in field of sports, but did not say a sports person.
No, I mean like that
Interesting.
automatically makes him a sports person, right?
Okay, all right, fair enough.
No, I mean like that was a
Else I
few
do read too
years
much.
ago, many years ago, but there are still videos of this person showing his skill in his chosen sport.
Uh, Maradona? I recently saw a video of Maradona doing some football tricks.
Yeah. No, because this
Is
person won sports in his particular sport. He was even part of the International Federation until 2022.
oh okay. Phew. So which sport is it? If you could give that as a
Okay,
hint.
I'll give you that. He judo.
Judo.
Yes.
You expect me to know judo athletes? I mean, I know we are a trivia podcast, but
He was famously been practicing judo since he was 11 years old. He was awarded an 8th Dan in the black belt in 2012, becoming the first of his nation to achieve that status. He has co-authored, I think, like 2 books on judo, and was part of and had held positions in the International Judo Federation until 2022.
ooh, judo, because I don't think I actually know a single like judo athlete. I'm gonna guess this is not a person who is famous for being a judo athlete, which
No,
leads
this
me to
person is pretty
just
famous for being
I,
a judo. There are many viral videos of this person performing judo.
no, Vinny, do not obfuscate. This person is not famous for being a judo athlete. This person is famous for other things. Being the judo athlete is just part of his personality cult. So I'm assuming this is some dictator because a lot of them have this kind of stuff going for them. And I'm thinking it's one of your Viktor Orban, Putin, these kind of fellas. Because they have a penchant for also doing bullshit like that.
You're basically, how do I put this, speculating right now. I need an answer. What is your answer?
It is I'm going to say an Eastern European dictator. And because okay, I'm just going to go with the most famous one. I'm going to say Putin. Is it Putin?
Yes, it is Vladimir Putin.
Ooh, you nasty man, Vineet, you nasty man.
No, I
Giving me all
never
these
said
red
anything
herrings.
false. First of all, the man was a KGB agent for God knows how long. I would not be surprised if, one of his covers at some point was to be a club singer or he sang. So you cannot say that he's not a singer. And number two, he is quite an accomplished judoka or judokai, however that's pronounced. And he was a member of the International Judo Federation. He held positions in the International Judo Federation until March 2022 when he was removed after the invasion of Ukraine. So the answer indeed was Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, the longest serving Russian or Soviet leader since Joseph Stalin. And this, my
Okay.
dear audience, was a performance that he gave at a children's charity. Actually, charity for ill children, and it was in front of an audience of international film and television celebrities, some of whom can't believe what they're seeing. I would highly recommend you go and watch the video because he also plays the piano in the beginning and then goes on a full throated rendition of Blueberry Hill. And just so now that you know this is Putin, I'm going to play the song again so that you can imagine him singing it in front of an audience, and then go and watch the video.
I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill. On Blueberry Hill. When I found you, the moon stood still on Blueberry Hill. And linger until my dreams came true.
Okay, so now that we've been serenaded by the croonings of Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, Aditya, back to you.
Lovely. I appreciate that. And good question, despite all those false starts that you gave me.
No, they were all true. None of them were false. I resent the accusation. All of what I said was true.
A false start, Vineet, by the way, in sports context, let me just tell you, it doesn't mean the start is not true. The start did happen. It disqualifies the athlete because they did not do it.
Yeah,
in the
because they
spirit of
either
the game,
jumped
okay.
the gun or they jumped the gun. They were two. That's not the case here either. It's not like you answered quickly and was disqualified.
Pish posh. I will.
I would remind you that the very how do I put, the spirit of this podcast is dealing in semantics.
Fair enough. I will give you credit for a wonderful piece of trivia there, though. Who knew that Putin was doing this for children's charities? Huh?
Yeah.
Sometimes terrible people do some nice things also. Okay. So, since we are in the great white north of Russia, I'm going to ask you if you know about Captain Sir John Franklin and his voyage, his failed British voyage. Do you have any context or clue as to who this person was or what he was trying to attempt?
John Franklin. The name does seem to ring a bell somewhere, but I'm not able to place it right now. Maybe when you give me a little context, it may come back to me.
Absolutely. Okay, so he was a British explorer, and he was tasked with setting off to traverse the last unnavigated sections of the Northwest Passage in the Canadian Arctic.
Oh, okay.
So it was an Arctic exploration mission, right?
Mhm.
And this was in 1945. He departed England in 1945 aboard two ships. Eventually, the expedition met with disaster. Both ships and their crews, a total of 129 officers and men, were stuck. A bunch of them died pretty soon thereafter. After that, 24 men. After the 24 men had died, a bunch of them who were surviving tried to set off on foot to reach the Canadian mainland and could not make that journey and also presumably perished at some point. All right, so we have some context as to Franklin's lost expedition. The question is, a mid-19th century bark-rigged ship of the British Royal Navy, specially outfitted for Arctic exploration, was sent out to search for Franklin's lost expedition. This ship itself also got trapped in the ice and was abandoned in 1854.
Okay.
It was recovered by an American whaler. A whaler is a ship that is used for whaling specifically. Was recovered by an American whaler and was returned to Queen Victoria in 1856.
Okay.
What is the current day ramification of this particular, let's say, adventure or series of mishaps and recoveries that happened?
The Oval Office. And that's all, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot unfortunately drop the mic because this is a podcast, but yes.
Oh man, I have to actually I have to describe this to the listeners who obviously can't see what you're doing. Vineet just literally did a whole like flex and rotated his shoulders and turned his neck a few times around. You could almost hear the bones cracking in preparation of that mic drop moment because clearly the man knew the answer. Yes, the Oval Office is the answer, but do you do you care to expand upon it to bring our audience in as well?
Okay, so the now that you mention it, I don't remember other details, but I remember that the Franklin ship there were two ships. There was I think, a TV show about it also called The Terror. I think one of the ships was called the Terror. I don't remember what the other one was called. And
Yes, it is
if I
called
remember,
the Erebus and the Terror.
yes, Erebus and the Terror. Yeah. So then after that, the ship that was sent in search of it, which was then recovered, was made into a desk by Queen Victoria, which was then gifted, if I remember correctly, to the American president, and it still stands in the Oval Office. And I think, if again, this is a vague memory, so I may be wrong, but I think Nicolas Cage has fiddled with it at some point.
Yes, Nicolas Cage has dabbled with it. Yes, he has. Well done, well done. Good job.
Thank you, thank you.
Obviously, Vineet refers to. Uh, I don't even want to call it a guilty pleasure, though a lot of people might consider it a guilty pleasure. National Treasure. What a
Yes,
fun film. The sequel
very fun.
also a lot of fun. Yeah, so two films that are worth a Sunday afternoon watch if you don't want to watch something serious.
Yeah.
All right, so Vineet, though I will ask you for one last detail. What is the name of the ship?
I believe the desk was called the Intrepid desk. So I'm guessing the name of the ship is also Intrepid.
Ooh, Vineet, you were on such a roll.
Oh, it's not the Intrepid
And I
desk.
guess
Okay.
you also got stuck in the icy waters somewhere. It's not the Intrepid ship or the
Okay.
Intrepid desk.
It's going to come to me. It's going to come to me for sure.
It is going to come to you. I know it is. I know it is.
The Resolute! It's the Resolute desk. It is the Resolute desk. Yes. Yeah.
Resolute desk. Well, there we go. Audience, I did not have to clue Vineet into that either. He got it.
No, it features in a lot of novels as well. The Resolute desk is one of those things that features in a lot of novels. There are a few, how do I put this? I want to call them artifacts, gifts that American presidents and the American system has received, which have become iconic in history. The Resolute desk is one. The second, I believe, is the gavel that is used by the Speaker of the House in America, which is made out of pure ivory and is gifted by India.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are these things which happen that way. And you also know that in the Oval Office there's a carpet which has the American eagle, right? And the American eagle obviously has its 2 feet, one clutching a quiver of arrows and the other, I think, with an olive branch. Do you know that in times of war the head of the eagle faces towards the arrow, and during in times of peace the head of the eagle faces the sprig of olives or whatever? Now, what I could not find is who changes the carpet. And if at any point in the last 70 years has it ever faced the olives section?
Yeah, they don't even know where that olive section carpet is now. They're just like, it's probably molding somewhere in the back rooms. Yeah. Okay. Very well done. Just a final bit of trivia related to this. The Resolute desks, or rather the desks made out of timber from HMS Resolute, which was the name of the ship that was sent to recover Franklin's lost expedition. There were 3 of them. So one which sits in the Oval Office, as Vineet mentioned, is called the Resolute desk now. A second desk is called the Grinnell desk. And this was given to the widow of Henry Grinnell, who also had sent some expeditions to search for Franklin's lost expedition. And the third desk, or which is more accurately a writing table, was commissioned by Queen Victoria, and it remains part of the royal collection. So these are the 3 desks that were made out of HMS Resolute.
Yeah.
The most famous, obviously, in the Oval Office. So well done, Vineet. Wow, that was beyond impressive. You are on a roll. I have to give it to you.
History is the one thing where I can, kind of make connections. You ask me sport or any arts, I'm hopeless.
I would pay good money to listen to an episode between you and HK, by the way. So if I ever decide to take a day off, you and Ashley should definitely do a history special.
Oh,
That would be a fun episode.
we would just completely how do this outdo each other. The no questions would get answered. He would ask me questions which I would not be able to answer. I'd ask him questions which he probably would have never heard of, and we just keep learning. But the audience would be completely bored.
You have one guaranteed listener. I'm in. We'll make
Yes.
this happen at some point.
Thank you.
Okay, great, lovely. Let's have your question next, Vineet.
Okay, so if you were to think of films that have had a big impact on this show X, the obvious examples would be Star Wars, The Karate Kid, and Weekend at Bernie's. There have been multiple homages and references throughout the show's run for these three movies. But the one with the biggest impact is also the subtlest. In LA Confidential, have you heard of the movie and the novel LA Confidential?
I have watched the movie LA Confidential. I have not read the book.
Fantastic movie. Russell Crowe, Kim Basinger, just amazing. So, in the novel LA Confidential, which was written by James Elroy, on which the 90s neo-noir film was based, there's a throwaway mention of a hospital orderly who moonlights as a heroin drug dealer called Y. Y being the name of the drug dealer. Clearly, that unusual name left an impact on the creators of the show X, leading them to turning an auxiliary character in a 1990 crime novel into a bizarre in-joke by naming one of the main characters as Y. So I want you to tell me the name of the show and the character that I'm talking about.
Oh, okay, interesting. You said the three shows that you mentioned were Star Wars, Weekend at Bernie's, and you mentioned Karate Kid.
Yes, so these three movies have had a huge impact on the show.
Sorry, the movies that have had an impact on the show. Yeah, you're right. This is where I shine. Clearly, you spend your time reading history and learning about the past. I watch outdated sitcoms. This is How I Met Your Mother, clearly.
Yes, very good. So this is How I Met Your Mother. So now, how is, and you only have one chance to get this right because there are only four possible answers to this. Who was the heroin drug dealer in LA Confidential?
I'm sorry. Why are there only four? There are five characters, Vineet. Come on, like let's do not do this to me. I know How I Met Your Mother. There are five main characters in the show, so I have five possible answers. But okay, I get your point that I'll only get one chance at this.
Yeah, so five. Yeah.
LA Confidential, that leaves two of them out directly because I doubt it was Lily Aldrin or Robin Scherbatsky. That means it's either Marshall Erickson, Ted Mosby, or Barney Stinson. Ted Mosby. I don't think it's Marshall Erickson. I'm confused between Barney and Ted. But I'm going to go with the iconic character. I'm going to go with Barney. Is it Barney Stinson?
Yes, Barney Stinson was the name of a drug dealer in LA Confidential, and that the name, unusual as it is, left an impact on the showrunners who decided to leave this very subtle joke in the entire series. Barney Stinson is named after a drug dealer.
Wow, okay, lovely. Nice.
Okay, that was a very quick crack. Your turn.
Yeah, thank you. Since we are talking about naming things and etymology is of a mutual favorite, so let's do this one. So this in some way also relates back to the Olympics, as in it's a sport that is currently not in the Olympics but might be in the future. It has been proposed a few times as a possible addition. Throwback also, by the way, to a question I asked, I don't know how many episodes ago, where we discussed one of the latest additions to 2024 Olympics. Vinny, do you remember the one question that I asked about 2024? Yeah, breakdancing. Yes, I am looking forward to the breakdancing Paris Olympics.
Given the shit show that the Olympics has been so far, I'm not looking forward to it.
Hey, there is always something worth remembering in every Olympics. Maybe it will be breakdancing for 2024. But this isn't related to breakdancing. This is a whole different sport. And the sport, or the more common name that everybody would know it by, is named after a Connecticut-based pie manufacturer which supplied pies to Yale University. This particular pie delivery company, or pie manufacturing company rather, started a campus craze, and founders Richard Nuhr and Arthur Mellon, they were not the founders of the pie company, These are founders of what would be considered the sport, I guess.
Okay.
They were inspired by the nickname that the Yale University students gave to the sport and decided to name the sport officially after that nickname. And that nickname was derived from the pie manufacturer. What sport am I talking about?
Is it frisbee? Frisbee throwing.
Come on, Vineet, man. Just I can't deal with you. What's up with you today? This is just, you're taking my best questions and making a joke out of all of them.
I think the term you're looking
Yes,
for
it
is
is frisbee.
a mockery of the question. But no, this is, I mean, like, the moment you said pie, the only two sports came to mind, curling and frisbees. So then I was like, yeah, it has to be one of these two.
Impressive. All right. So, do you know the details, or should I supply
No,
those?
I really, no,
Like on a shock?
honestly, this was, I did not know this offhand. I worked it out from his clues, from his questions. So you'll have to still give me the details.
Fine. Okay. So the history obviously starts with this person called Walter Morrison and his wife Lucille, who used to have fun tossing a popcorn can lid. And they were doing this at a Thanksgiving Day dinner in 1937. And somebody came and offered them a bunch of money for a cake pan, by the way, later, that they were tossing around in a beach near LA. And they were like, oh, clearly there's a market for this. So they started working on this, and eventually Walter Morrison went off to fight in World War II. But when he came back, he was working on this post that as well, and maneuvering. And a couple of years later, there were two other people, Richard Nurr and Arthur Mellon, who co-founded this company called Wham-O. And Wham-O used to make what we would today consider frisbee. They gave the disc the brand name Frisbee, and they spelled it Frisbee, after learning that college students were calling the particular disc by that name because Connecticut-based pie manufacturer called Frisbee, Frisbie, pie company, Frisbee Pie Company, supplied these pies to Yale University, and students had a campus craze of tossing around the pie tins, empty pie tins, which was stamped with the company's logo. So they used to just call it Frisbee. So Richard Nurr and Arthur Mellon decided to give name to their disc Frisbee as well, and they just changed the name slightly from IE to EE just to avoid any copyright infringement. So that's how the name Frisbee came to be, from a pie company. Who would have thunk?
Nice. That was a good question. Luckily, there were enough clues in it for me to crack it. And I hope I have put enough clues in this question so that you will be able to crack it also. Question is as follows. After two successful film outings, X wanted to continue their successful run. Apple Films executive Dennis O'Dell spearheaded the hunt for material. X loved the idea of a film version of a famous book trilogy. Director Y, who was fresh off the success of a political satire black comedy, was approached to direct, but said no and went on to direct what is widely considered one of the greatest genre films of all time. Even if the director Y had said yes, they would not have obtained the right because the author of the book trilogy said no. Eventually, X ended up doing an animated feature which is widely regarded as a landmark of animation today. Identify X and Y.
Oh, you did not mention any years in this, though, right?
No.
You mentioned an Apple executive?
Apple Films executive Dennis O'Dell.
So this has to be recent because Apple Films wasn't a thing, whatever, like 20 years ago. I don't know. Actually, was it? I have no idea. I'm assuming it has something to do with Apple Studios, Apple Films, which is more recent. Trilogy films makes me think of Jason Bourne, makes me think of Lord of the Rings. You said Y did not end up directing the films and went on to make a genre film, greatest genre film.
Yeah, so it basically made a film which is considered one of the greatest in its genre.
Yeah, no, mate, man. I have no idea right now because I don't even know which era I'm looking at. Give me a year, maybe. Or whatever, any hint.
Okay, I'm going to give you a year, which might kind of give this away a little bit, but I'm going to give you the decade.
Okay.
The 1960s.
But so you said 1960s, the film couldn't have been made.
No, they wanted to make it. X wanted to make it, right? And there was, again, coincidentally named Apple Films executive who
Okay.
who looked at this material, who looked at the book and told X, like, this would be great. And, X loved it. So they wanted to make the movie, and they wanted Y, who had just come off this really hot hit, which is a political satire black comedy. But Y said no. And even if Y had agreed, the author said no. So then Y went on to make one of the greatest films in its genre of all time. And X ended up doing an animated feature, which is regarded as a landmark of animation.
Okay. So 1960s political satire, black comedy makes me think Doctor Strangelove.
Okay.
So that means you're talking about Stanley Kubrick. And
Very
Stanley
good.
Kubrick, you said after that made the one of the greatest films in that particular genre, right?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Post because 2001: A Space Odyssey is before.
No, it was after Strangelove.
Oh, so then it is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
It is
Then. That would
2001:
be
A
the
Space
greatest.
Odyssey. So yes, you have cracked who Y is. Y is Stanley Kubrick, one of the greatest directors of all time. Clockwork Orange, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Doctor Strangelove. So you've got
Right.
Y down. Who is X?
X was the one who wanted to make the film, right? He had the idea. Is that
Yes,
what it
X
was?
X was coming off two successful films, and
Okay, X was coming out of it.
and was looking for their next project. At that point,
So
Dennis O'Dell
had X directed, had X acted. What was X's role in those projects?
acted.
Oh, X was an
acted
actor.
in a few other kind of supporting technical things as well.
Oh, could it be Godfather? Was Godfather the?
No. Francis Ford Coppola was already. I mean, like, yeah, but this is not a Francis Ford Coppola film. I will give you a clue about the animated feature. Pixar co-founder and former chief creative officer John Lasseter has credited the film with generating wider interest in animation as a serious art form. It had generally been considered a children's medium at the time. Time magazine commented that it turned into a smash hit, delighting adolescents and aesthetes alike. And half a century after its release, it's still regarded as a landmark of animation.
Oh, half a century. 50
Yeah,
years
I already
ago.
told you this is the 1960s, right?
No, but the animated feature I didn't realize was also in that era. Okay.
Yeah, because see, the moment they realized that they couldn't make this trilogy, they moved on and made the animated feature.
Is it Fantasia?
No, Fantasia was in the 40s.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit also, but that's more
That
like
was in
live action
the
animation.
90s.
80s, right?
80s or 90s,
80s
yeah.
or 90s, I think. Yeah. Oh, interesting. So 50 years ago, we're talking 60s, 70s. Animation from that era. No, yeah, I don't remember any animation film from that era.
Oh, yeah.
Huh. Okay, now give me some other hint then. I'm not close.
You would probably, or actually most people today would probably remember the soundtrack more than the film itself.
So is this a Disney film?
No, it's not a Disney film.
Because I was going to guess like a Mary Poppins or something. And this movie also led to it being considered a serious genre and rather than just a children's thing.
Yeah. I mean, like, it was at the time its box office gross was around $1.2 million. Its Rotten Tomatoes rating today is 97%.
Is it an American film or is it a?
Let's say it's a mix of both. So Apple Films and King Features Syndicate, and it is distributed by United Artists. So Apple Films is English, United Artists and King Features Syndicate is American. So technically, it's a combined project between the UK and the US. It was made for $250,000 and box office returns were $1.27 million.
No, I have no clue whatsoever. I'm very lost right now.
Okay, what if I gave you the clue that the original trilogy that they wanted to make was The Lord of the Rings?
Okay, so they wanted to make Lord of the Rings. You're just asking me who was the actor who wanted to make Lord of the Rings.
No, they wanted to make Lord of the Rings, so I'm asking who X is.
Who X, right? X was the actor you mentioned, right?
That's an assumption that you made.
So was X an actor, director, producer? What was it?
Let's just say X is not a person,
Oh,
quote unquote. Let's say, put it that way. I'm being very, very, how do I put this, mean, but let's just say X is not a person.
is it?
And as you should remember, we deal in semantics.
Yay. Not a person. So, presumably a team, a group, two people, a company. Ah, who wanted to make a Lord of the Rings films? I have no idea. No, you'll have to either tell me the answer or give me a better
Okay.
hint.
Okay, as I mentioned, X is not a person, X is four people.
Is X a band? Is X the Beatles? We need if it's the Beatles.
I mean, like, obviously, if it's the 60s and it's four people and it's me asking the question, it's
Yes,
going to be the
of
Beatles.
course it is. It has to be, yes. So Beatles wanted to make a movie on the Lord of the Rings.
Yes, okay. So this is the story, and this is crazy. After playing themselves in A Hard Day's Night and Help, which are the two movies I was talking about, the Fab Four, as they were known, were ready to play fictional characters. Apple Films executive Dennis O'Dell spearheaded the hunt for material, and Lennon reportedly loved the idea of Lord of the Rings. With the casting that was suggested being, and this is the icing on the cake, that is this piece of trivia. Lennon would play Gollum, McCartney would play Frodo, Harrison would be
Okay,
Gandalf, and Ringo would play
sure.
Sam.
Out of all of them, I only believe Ringo as Sam. Like Ringo is very much the Samwise Gamgee
No,
of the
this is, I mean,
Beatles.
this casting is meta on so many levels. You have Gollum, right, who's this kind of obsessed, weird person with like round eyes or whatever, right? And you have Lennon, whose eyes are basically spectacles. I mean, like you see those round spectacles, like the round spectacles,
Hmm,
obsessed with his material, a little obsessed with
hmm,
himself. Yeah, takes himself a little too
hmm.
seriously. Gollum, McCartney
Sure.
playing Frodo. Frodo is this nice guy who everybody likes, but then also has a dark side. George Harrison, the most
Right.
spiritually wise of the all four of them, and the most
Hmm,
talented, actually, I think so, when it comes to the instruments and the music itself, rather than the songwriting portion. So, the man who makes the music is Gandalf, and Ringo.
hmm.
The how do I put this? As they once said, he's not even the best drummer in this band. I mean, there's no other character he could play better than Sam.
No better description than he's the Samwise Gamgee of the
Yeah.
Beatles. That would make Yoko Ono precious.
Yes, the
It would
ring.
be the
But then
precious.
McCartney, I don't think was ever tempted by Yoko.
That's the hidden story that you don't know beneath.
No, see,
That's
that's the
perhaps what.
if that's the case, now, if you actually wanted to make a rock musical with this, you would have to have George Harrison and Eric Clapton,
Hmm,
because they were both in love with the same woman,
okay. The inspiration behind
Leila.
songs also Leila, yeah.
Yeah.
This was part of a question that I was going to ask you, but now that you've already put it out there, I guess that's a trivia question gone down the drain.
Yes.
Yes, you're right.
So, and then speaking of Stanley Kubrick, he was fresh off Doctor Strangelove. He was approached to direct
Hmm,
while the Beatles would provide the music. Kubrick said no. He considered Lord of the Rings, get this, unfilmable. And more importantly,
hmm,
Tolkien turned them down. Other directors who were considered included Michelangelo Antonioni, David Lean, and Richard Lester. Kubrick then went on to make 2001: A Space Odyssey, and the Beatles turned to animation with Yellow Submarine.
okay, nice,
Now,
nice,
interestingly
nice.
enough, the involvement of the Beatles in Yellow Submarine is largely limited to music, because the Beatles characters in Yellow Submarine are not voiced by the
Hmm.
Beatles themselves.
Oh, okay,
They're voice actors. They only come in for a small part at the end of the movie.
very interesting.
The Beatles wanted to make a version of Lord of the Rings starring themselves and directed by Stanley Kubrick. That would have been psychedelic.
Now you just want to imagine a future in which that would have happened.
Mm.
How different would this world be? And wow, what an interesting piece of trivia! I love this. We should at some point, and this I'm just putting it out there. If you're a supporter, if you're a friend of the podcast, please tell us if this is an idea that you would like to hear. We should make special episodes with just a collection of questions which are like similarly grouped together, right? So I think a particular type would be alternate possibilities in pop culture. So potential movies that could have been made, movies that were cancelled and never happened. And I think we have asked some of those questions in the past as well. And this one fits right alongside of it. I love it.
Yeah.
So we should do that. Okay. From the world of cinema, I'm going to ask you something a lot more relevant today. And the question is very simple. Vineet, what is Snikt?
Wolverine's claws.
Vineet, what is up with you? What did you eat today for dinner? What is happening?
Dude, I've been reading
Jesus
Wolverine
Christ.
and X-Men comics since I was a kid, which means that there were many
Wow.
people listening to this podcast who were not alive when I started reading those things. Snikt is the ultimate noise that you can see written in X-Men comics.
I must tell our listeners that there is a certain lag when we record this remotely because we do this podcast remotely. And Vineet somehow overcame the barrier of the internet recording. He answered this question without any lag. Before I even finished the question, he had answered the question. So I don't know, like somehow this man is reading my mind.
I am
Okay,
not
wow,
Charles
that was.
Xavier, neither am I Cassandra Nova. Watch Deadpool and Wolverine, by the way. Fantastic film.
I have heard good things, so I might go check it out soon.
Yeah, I just saw it yesterday. It was amazing.
Okay. This was a very quick crack, but let me just tell anybody else who doesn't know that snikt is the sound, or the correct word would be onomatopic. Onomatopic representation of the sound of Wolverine's claws being extended. The metallic noise that you hear, the zing, or whatever the sound. I don't know. I made a bad
It's Snikt. You just have to
representation of it, but I don't think is the sound, but it's okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's because you're doing it like you're sneezing.
Yeah, that is true. So snikt is the sound that would be made when Wolverine's claws come out. And it was also a 5-issue comic book limited series written and drawn by manga artist Sutsomu Nie. And it was published by Marvel Comics in 2003 as part of their short-lived Tsunami imprint starring Wolverine. So this is also a word that the Marvel Comics have registered as an official sound, or the word that would refer to Wolverine's claws being drawn out. So snikt is the word. Vineet, quick crack, very impressive. Hit me with your last question.
So the last question for today is as follows. X was at one time a jet-setting socialite who counted Mick Jagger and former US First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy among his friends, and whose contact list included multiple Hollywood celebrities like Robert De Niro. In an unusual career, X has worn many hats. He played a small role in The Deceivers, which was a 1988 Hollywood film directed by Nicholas Meyer and starring Pierce Brosnan. He's written 3 books: A Second Paradise, A Desert Kingdom, and The Garden of Life. 2 of them which were edited by Jacqueline Kennedy, or Jacqueline Onassis. Who's X?
Oh boy. As quickly as you're answering my questions, I am that slow today. So, no idea right now. Give me some more clues, maybe.
He was in the news just last month.
Oh boy. I did not read any news last month, Vineet. I'm sorry. Okay. So, what are the books again that you mentioned? You mentioned Garden of Life and
The Garden of Life, A Desert Kingdom, and A Second Paradise. There were 2 of them were edited by Jacqueline Kennedy or Jacqueline Onassis.
no idea at all. He said he was also a socialite, a jet-setting socialite.
Yes. He rubbed shoulders with Mick Jagger, Jacqueline Kennedy, Robert De Niro. And he played a small role in the movie The Deceivers, a 1988 Hollywood film directed by Nicholas Meyer and starring Pierce Brosnan. A very politically
no, I've not seen the
incorrect film, by the way. If it would not get made today.
No, I also don't have any context to the film. Is this by any chance somebody Indian?
Very good. It is somebody Indian.
Okay. Socialites from that era also wrote books. Is it like somebody from the Kapoor family?
No, not from the Kapoor family. No.
Oh, okay. Is it an actor though?
No, I think this was his only fictional or
Yeah.
feature film role. And it was very small. Blink and you miss it kind of role.
So is it like a Tata or someone?
No.
But Tata, I don't think has appeared in a film.
No, I
Hmm.
think Tata must have appeared in multiple documentaries at least.
Oh, sure, documentaries. Yeah, but like, I don't remember ever reading that he's been in a Hollywood production. Okay.
See, the thing
Hmm.
is, even if you took up the IMDb page for The Deceivers, you wouldn't see him because it was a blink and you miss it kind of background role.
Interesting.
Similar to the King of Jordan, who once appeared in a blink and you miss it cameo in Star Trek.
Interesting. I didn't know that either. Somebody from the world of business. Oh, somebody from the world of politics. Is it Gandhi? Sanjay Gandhi? No, can't be Sanjay Gandhi. Is it Rajiv Gandhi?
No. Good guess, but not Rajiv Gandhi. But I would think you should look
Okay.
at the same kind of set because now I'll give you a couple of more clues now that you've narrowed things down. X was a
Mm-hmm.
Doon School and St. Stephen's alumnus.
Doon School, St. Stephen's alumnus, politics.
And
Mm.
he's written 3 books: A Second Paradise, which is on Indian Maharajas, A Desert Kingdom on the Rajputs of Bikaner, and The Garden of Life on Indian healing herbs.
This is somebody who has to be in his 60s, 70s, I guess, 70s, 80s, maybe.
So the age of this person is currently 77.
77. You said Doon School,
And this person's father has
politics.
been the object of a question and almost an entire episode for on Are You Quizzing Me?
Oh,
That was a giveaway clue.
it was because I remember at that point also thinking father son duo, and I remember Sachin Pilot. I remember answering Sachin Pilot, and that was not the right answer. So I remember the right answer was Biju Patnaik. So I'm guessing we are talking about Naveen Patnaik.
Yes, it is a Naveen Patnaik. So again, the reason I mentioned
Ah,
was his 24-hour year reign, which lasted till June of last month,
hmm.
is the second longest for any chief
24
minister of
year
any
reign.
Indian state.
24-year reign.
Yeah, 24-year reign.
He said 24-hour reign.
Oh, sorry. 24-year reign, I'm sorry, is the second longest for any chief minister of any Indian state, second only, I think, to Jyoti Basu. He was born in 1946 to Biju Patnaik, who has been the subject of an entire special episode. So go listen to that. He was educated at Welham Boys School in Dehradun and later the Doon School. At Doon School, he was a classmate of Sanjay Gandhi and 3 years junior to Rajiv Gandhi. Hence, that I said that he's talking about the same set. He was a writer, and
Hmm.
for the most part of his youth was away from politics. But after Biju Patnaik's demise, he entered politics in 1907 and soon, stood for elections and became chief minister. He was a well-known
Hmm.
socialite at one point, being the scion of such a prestigious family and rubbed shoulders with the elite in even the Western social circles. And that's not something that's known to many people. He appeared in a blink and you miss it role in The Deceivers, which again is, as I mentioned, a politically incorrect movie starring Pierce Brosnan as let's say, an English captain by the name of Captain William Savage, who infiltrates the Thuggy cult. You may know the Thuggy cult as the Thuggy. Actually, I think the correct pronunciation is Thuggy. Thuggy, which was the origin for the word thug, and also the inspiration for Amrish Puri's character Bholaram in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So, coming back to the movie, The Deceivers stars Pierce Brosnan as an English captain who, I can only describe as brown face and a beard and turban, infiltrates the Thuggy cult, and he appears in a small role in that movie along with Saeed Jafri and Shashi Kapoor. He's also written multiple books. As I mentioned, he was a writer and he was very close with Jacqueline Onassis, who in her later career was much associated with publishing and literature, and she is said to have edited two of his books. So, a man who wore many, many hats, Mr. Naveen Patnaik.
Very cool. Okay, lovely. Nice piece of trivia right there.
Yes. So that is the end of today's episode. So let's go back to the audience question that I had asked at the beginning of the episode, which is the most commonly celebrated national celebration worldwide other than religious holidays. Aditya, do you have an answer?
I was going to say Mother's Day, but now I'm more inclined to say New Year's Day. New Year's Day is technically not religious.
No, actually, no. Let's say that I'm talking about all those Christmas, New Year apart. Let's say other than those kind of
Oh,
holidays, which is the most commonly celebrated national celebration, as in a country has to celebrate that. There are many countries which don't celebrate New Year's Day at the same time as we celebrate New Year's Day. A lot of Southeast Asia does not celebrate New Year's on January 1st. A lot of Eastern European countries, a lot of African countries also don't celebrate it on January 1st. So then that's technically not
so
correct.
let me clarify a technicality. Is it a day that is celebrated simultaneously across the world? Like it
Not
can't be an
simultaneously
Independence
for
Day
the
or
same reason. Let's say this for the same reason.
so then Independence Day.
You are right, but let me just clarify that a step further. The most commonly, apparently, and this is true apparently, the most commonly celebrated national celebration worldwide is Independence Day from the British. So there's an
Nice.
entire
Yes, makes sense.
Wikipedia page article on a list of countries which have declared independence from England, the UK at some point or the other. And some of those countries don't exist today. But as of today, I think somewhere between 42 to 48 to 52 countries celebrate an Independence Day from the British.
Okay. Okay.
So
Cool.
that's
I
the
love it.
audience question. Aditya, what's your pop culture recommendation for this week?
I'm going to recommend two non-Hindi films, Indian films, but not Hindi films, because very often my Indian films are Hindi films that I recommend. I'm going to recommend Atma Pamphlet. Atma Pamphlet is a Marathi film, and I believe it's available on Amazon Prime. Do check it out. It is a great film, great concept. Actually, I'll tell you the concept. It's very simple. It's a child deciding to write an autobiography, which would be called and Atma Katha. But because he's a child and he doesn't have enough content to fill out a whole book, so he's like, oh, I'll just write a pamphlet long autobiography. So it's Atma Pamphlet. So that's a lovely Marathi film. Definitely check it out. I loved the film. I thought the ending was a little contrived, but otherwise a great film. The other one I would recommend, a lot of people are talking about it. You might have seen it already in your recommendations, but if you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. Maharaj, and this is on Netflix. It is just such a good film. I watched it recently and I was blown away by it. And of course, when I say Maharaj, I'm talking about the Vijay Sethupathi Anurag Kashyap film and not the Junaid Khan one. Do not watch the Junaid Khan one. That is also a recommendation because I did watch that and it was not very good. But the Vijay Sethupathi one is a definite recommendation. So yeah, these two films, the Tamil Maharaja and the Marathi Atma Pamphlet. Check both of those out.
You stole one of my recommendations because I too was going to recommend Maharaj by Maharaja, which is again Vijay Sethupathi, who at the beginning of the movie walks into a police station to complain that an iron dustbin has been stolen from his house. And that just sets off this roller coaster ride, which ends in a horrific conclusion. I'm not going to say anything more than that. It's a fantastic movie. Do watch it. I have recommended Wolverine and Deadpool, as well as I think the documentary Icarus, which we had mentioned earlier. That's also a good watch. So those are my pop culture recommendations for this week, and that's all the time we have for this week's episode. Thank you for listening in. We hope you enjoyed the show and learned something new. If you liked what you heard, please consider subscribing to our podcast and leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps us reach a wider audience and allows more people to discover and enjoy the show. We'd also love to hear from you, feedback, suggestions, and even trivia. You can reach us on Instagram at Are You Quizzing Me? or you can just send us an email with a question that you want asked on the show at areyouquizzingme@gmail.com. Just make sure to mention the name of the quiz master in the subject line. We also have a community on Reddit, which is r/areyouquizzingme. You can join with other listeners on the show and discuss whatever you want on that particular platform. We appreciate your support and look forward to sharing more episodes with you in the future. Thanks again for tuning in and have a great day.
See you guys next week.